Coming up today on Locked On Texas Tech, we get into a recent run of success for the Red Raiders against West Virginia. What's been working for the good guys within the Duchendorf Cup? We get into it. And also a legendary Red Raider lending a hand to the kicking game. Next on Locked On Texas Tech.
You are Locked On Texas Tech, your daily podcast on the Texas Tech Red Raiders. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
We're going to start this thing off right.
Raider! Everything runs through Lubbock.
Great to see you again on Locked On Texas Tech on the Locked On Podcast Network. And thanks for making us your first listen on YouTube or anywhere you get podcasts. Today's episode brought to you by Jase Medical. Empower yourself when you purchase the Jase case, providing you with a personal supply of 5 antibiotics that treat over 50 infections. Get yours today at Jase Medical. That's Jase Medical, JaceMedical.com. He's the only Chris Level. I'm Casey Cowan, and Chris, we are looking ahead to the Duchendorf Cup, the battle for John Denver's soul, Saturday from Morgantown, West Virginia. But before we do that, we're going to look back to the last battle for the Cup, when the Red Raiders put it on the Mountaineers a season ago. And really, Chris, was one of the only days, certainly within conference action, where you just kind of kicked your feet up and had a pep rally for 4 hours at the stadium as the Red Raiders ran them out of the building. And we got a lot to get to today, including some legendary help for Gino Garcia and the Texas Tech special teams. We also want to touch on, of course, what has been working for the Red Raiders recently in this matchup with West Virginia. But first, let's get to former Texas Tech offensive coordinator, current head coach Neal Brown of the West Virginia Mountaineers, who obviously spent time in West Texas and has got it on his mind, Chris, that the Red Raiders have had their number. Here's Neal Brown.
Texas Tech, so, they've had our number, and I think that'll probably be the story this week. Is what it is. Can't hide from it. They beat us 4 years in a row, and last year probably is, a bad a performance I've ever been a part of down in Lubbock. And so start conference play versus those guys at home. They've won the last 2 times they've come here, and we know that. Our guys know that. We were picked last in the conference. This is the first opportunity for us to prove the so-called experts wrong. And we get Tech, and we get them here at home. A lot of respect for that program. I obviously spent some time there. I think Joey's done a really good job, known him for a long time. They got a very good football team. They played a tough schedule also. Had to play at Wyoming, which is a tough venue, really a hard game, especially in an opener. Played Oregon. We're up in both those games late in the fourth quarter with a chance to win. Special teams, thing that sticks out is they have the McNamara kid at punter, and seems like he's been there forever, but he's elite. He's as good as any punter in the country. The field goal guy has a really strong leg. Their best receiver, their leading receiver, Miles Price, their punt returner, we're going to have to tackle him. He's unique in the fact that he's really a strong guy after the catch. Got good speed, but he really can break tackles. And then they've got 2 guys on kickoff return that can really run. Elite speed. Defensively, they're attacking group. They're veterans. If you look at the number of games that all these guys have played, it's a real veteran group. They got after us last year and really controlled the line of scrimmage on us. One of the few teams last 2 years that, their interior pieces really got after our interior pieces and did a nice job versus us. Offensively, they got great skill players. If you look at it, 3 or 4 receivers that I think can play for anybody in our league. They probably have the best group of receivers in our league. The quarterback's playing his best football of his career that I've seen. And they play really fast, and we better be ready for it.
Breaking news, Chris. Head coach thinks the opponent is really good everywhere. What you make of Neal Brown's assessment of the Red Raiders?
I think that's the story in Morgantown this week, though. It's really not about what he thinks about, each position group and certain individuals. Look, we know Austin is very good. Taj is very good. I don't know if you have the best group of receivers in the Big 12. I would disagree with that. I think Texas does. Shoot me for saying that, but that's just the reality of it. I think, and he goes back to last year, which is kind of the point I was going to make, is that, you beat them 48-10 last year. Taj Brooks was over 100 yards. I think Xavier White had nearly 104 yards receiving and a touchdown. Taj had the two the 2 touchdown runs. Baron Morton started that game, had 2 touchdown passes. You get up 24-3. JT Daniels is intercepted 3 times for West Virginia, and it just kind of, one of the best games, I guess, that you played from a complimentary football standpoint on all sides and all facets. And West Virginia was kind of reeling at the time, and they would just, kind of, until they went to, they really kind of were taking body blows until they went to, I think, Stillwater and won on a just sideways rain kind of day. And Nico Marchiol had to come in the second half and won that game. And it was a feel-good moment for West Virginia. But the point being, you've had their number. They know it. This is all that they've talked about. I think even Neal Brown felt like, in a way, it was really good that Texas Tech came right after the Pitt game, because they could easily move on from the Pitt game because, Texas Tech has had their number. You've beat them four times in a row, including the last 2 times up there. They've pointed that out as well. And the flip side is, all Joey's talked about around here and in Lubbock is, fellas, you want to win a conference championship, you got to be able to go win on the road, period. There's no way around it. It's a math problem. You can't win enough home games, to go to make it to a conference championship game or play for a title, whatever, if you don't win enough games on the road. So it's the same guys, though, largely on defense. They've added some portal guys, but the scary thing or tricky thing, maybe I should say, for Texas Tech is they have a little confidence. They've won 2 in a row. They've beat their in-state rival, which their fans, go Google those chants. They're a bit fired up on the Sweet Caroline, song and lyrics and all that. I think we've talked about that a little bit. But they're playing with some confidence, and they're feeling good about themselves, and that can be tricky a bit. And so that's why, again, playing on the road, man, it's going to be a bit tenuous until it's not. But you've got to. That's why you better go in and play well early.
Another week where I'm hoping the fat little girlfriends in Morgantown have been busy telling their football playing boyfriends how great they are. Just like Oregon coming off of that 81-7 win over Portland State, hoping maybe they'd be a little fat and happy coming to town. West Virginia coming off on an extreme emotional high. And
do they still burn the couches? Is that like a thing?
Oh, yeah, you don't drop that. They do that in the offseason, I think, just to celebrate a weekend.
And is that just a Morgantown thing, or?
I'm not sure. I don't know where it started. Could be elsewhere in West Virginia, but maybe.
I love a couch.
I
love a couch. I mean, on a Sunday afternoon, there's nothing better than a couch. I don't know why.
Don't you also enjoy good fire, though?
Not when it's the same thing. I mean,
all right.
Yeah, I mean,
let's lay some ground rules, some boundaries.
If you want to build a fire and there's a couch nearby, I think those things can be separate. Yeah, absolutely. But
okay, it's more like you're more like a burning a lime scooter guy or something like that when Tech goes to a national championship, right?
Sure. Okay. Flipping a car over, climbing up the street light. Sure. Yeah.
Oh, what fun we had once upon a time. Maybe we'll get back there again someday. Chris, I want to specifically go to Morgantown because this is an interesting road trip for any Big 12 team. Obviously, they're going to have a great environment, one of the better environments in the Big 12 conference. And you've had in your last couple of occasions, as Neal Brown mentioned there, 4 straight overall going the way of Texas Tech. I think this series is actually knotted now, maybe at 6 apiece or 7 apiece, if I'm not mistaken. But anyway, the last 2 trips to Morgantown been a little different. You had a tighter one, I think, 3 points. Then you had a 20 or 21 point win, I think. What does it take to be successful in Morgantown? I know we're talking about different teams, different head coaches, but I'm sure there are some similar things that could propel a team to success there. First, today's episode brought to you by Jase Medical. And in this day and age, everyone should be empowered to care for themselves and their loved ones when hit with the unexpected. And that's why Jase Medical is offering the Jase Case. The Jase Case includes 5 life-saving antibiotics for emergency use and gives you peace of mind. So you're not just hoping for access to medication during an emergency. With Jase Medical and the Jase Case, what you need is already in hand. And they make it simple, handling everything from online evaluation to licensed pharmacy medication delivery, along with ongoing consultation and care. And with shortages, pandemics, reliance on China, and general supply chain issues, you need to be prepared now more than ever. So to do just that, head to jasemedical.com, where the process is simple. Just fill out a form and bam, prescription life-saving medications are headed to your door. And right now, save more than $360 by getting these life-saving antibiotics with Jace Medical, plus an additional $20 off by using our code LOCKEDON at checkout. Again, that's jasemedical.com, JASE medical.com, and the code is locked on for an added $20 off at checkout. And don't be caught unprepared with the Jace case from Jace Medical. What does it take to be successful in Morgantown? I know we're talking about different teams, different head coaches, but I'm sure there are some similar things that could propel a team to success there.
You know, the biggest thing, you know, I sent you a text last night about kind of some thoughts about, like, I think things you need to do this week. But to me, the biggest thing about this weekend for Texas Tech is West Virginia is not going to be super explosive. They're not like a dynamic football team. They seem to be better than we all thought. That is very clear. I think that they're just kind of, you know, it's going to be fairly vanilla. They call the fans up there call the offense the vanilla raid. I don't know if that's a term of endearment or anything, but they're playing to their strengths. I mean, they have a really good the dude up front playing center is the best offensive lineman. Him or the kid at Kansas State this year, the two best offensive linemen personnel-wise that you'll see. Because I think Zach Frazier, he's a consensus All-American. But so they play to their strengths. They run the ball and all those things. Now they've got the quarterback issue, and so they're not real dynamic in the passing game. Okay, so the thing, though, that what's been the common theme, I think, in those two wins, and I think really in this series in general, you can't give them anything. You can't give up a punt return. You can't go muff a punt and give them a short field. You can't turn the ball over on offense. I mean, you just can't give them anything. And I remember, even going back to when Cliff's tenure was it was one of the best halves I've seen or that I'd seen for one of Cliff's teams on the road. And then yet it just all went away.
Yep.
And it was, I think you were up, man, Cowan, this would have been like 17 maybe. But you go up there, and I think you were feeling some pressure and all those things. And you go up there, and I want to say it's like 24-3 or something at halftime. But you basically you were having kicker problems, and you kick a chip shot field goal to even extend the lead even more. I can't exactly remember what the lead was, but you were way up, and you had a chance to extend it, and it doinks off the goalpost, and the crowd kind of went nuts, and you just felt like, okay, played a really good first half, but all of a sudden, like, there's a little momentum shift here. And you kind of gave them a freebie by not being able just to make a gimme field goal. And the doink, they just loved it, the noise that it made. And so I just, it's because it's weird up there. It's a tricky road trip. I don't mind telling you, it's the furthest road trip that you're going to take. I think it's the furthest road trip for Texas Tech in the Big 12. That even with the new schools, I don't think that changes. I think it's closer to get to Orlando or Cincinnati than it is Morgantown, and certainly it is Provo. So, but just can't give them anything, man. And so play clean, eliminate bad football, all those cliches that we've heard over the last couple of weeks.
And the road record is what the road record is under Joey McGuire. So you are what your record says you are. But I also think, given that, as we touched on already this week, every week is a new week for a football team. I hope for the football team, doesn't matter what we think or what's in our heads or what we're consumed by as far as distractions, but I hope for the football team that's not becoming a thing in the back of their head. But the problem is you've already had that one experience on the road this season. It didn't go well. I'm worried that Wyoming experience might have compounded our road complex, if you will, maybe a little further. What are you feeling around the team just being up there this week and hearing what's being discussed?
Question. There's a reason I'm asking this. Do you know how many games you won in your throwback uniforms last year? And you wore them 3 times. Can you remember?
I'm going to say 0.
Okay, you were 0-3 in throwbacks last year. So Joey knew that they were going to wear throwbacks this year at one point. I don't think that's why the Tarleton game was chosen, but he just wasn't as much of a fan of them. It's the superstition in all of us. Like, man, we just didn't play well in them.
It became a thing.
I don't want to really, I'm not excited as others about seeing it, whatever.
Yeah.
But he didn't really talk about that publicly. That wasn't really a thing. I just knew it because I just knew if you're keeping track of what they wear and how you do, you knew you were 0-3. And now I think it's in the media notes too that they track uniforms and the color combinations and what your record is and all that stuff.
By the way, just because I was weird and looking at this stuff yesterday, 18-3, I believe, either black, red, black or black, red, white. Just gonna throw that out there.
Okay, very nice.
14-3 and 4-0.
We need to see. I don't know what they're wearing this weekend, but hopefully it's one of those combinations.
Now you're going to make it a thing in my head, Chris.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
I get what you're saying, though. It became,
but it wasn't a public deal, and yet I think this is something that he has very much just hit head on. He has talked about it. He talked about it at media days in Arlington. He's talked about it before the opener. He certainly talked about it this week, even so much as saying. I even reached out to Grant McCaslin, I'm just asking him, hey, man, and I went to go look it up to be sure. And I knew, and it's a different deal. They were at North Texas, and I think in the Sun Belt Conference, I think. But I can't keep track with some of the Group of Five conferences anymore because it just switches so much every year. And there's alliances and all kinds of stuff moving on. But I think Grant's teams were something like 19-6 or something in the last 2 years he was at North Texas on the road, like an unbelievably good road record. So there's a reason why, hey, coach, you got any thoughts, tidbits, any kind of advice on? And so I thought that because, Joey talked about that, but this is going to be a thing until it's not. That's just the way it's going to go. And if you start talking about being, a title contender, and that's what Malik and Rashad and Rabbit and Bradford and Hutchings and Shuck and Taj, all these guys, that's what their goal is. They came back to try to be a part of that, but you can't achieve that unless you go win games away from Jones AT&T Stadium, period. And it comes down to like playing smart. I think playing well, especially early, heck, even we talked yesterday, it's like you got to carry it into the second quarter. Well, it's kind of an obvious. You just need to play well and smart and all that, but don't do anything. But see, this is where I go back to not having a dude, man. This is where I go back to not having somebody that just kind of turns the momentum because they can just go make a play. And maybe you have this. I'm just saying, I don't think we've necessarily seen that emerge just yet. Maybe Taj is this guy. Maybe Shuck is this guy. Maybe Bradley is this guy. Maybe Steve Linton is going to turn it on and just kind of flip it and all these things. You know what I'm saying? But
sure. That's
where you really need your best dudes on the road in a hostile environment to just go make something happen. So,
anyway. So road uni, black, white, black, 13-11. All whites, 11-7. Now that you got me thinking about these things, might as well run down the numbers. And here's a good way to get over the bad voodoo uni-wise, Coach. If you're watching out there, you just got to realize we've stunk in every uniform for about 15 years. So don't put it on the real WP unis. But I did actually think home-wise, black, red, black, interesting, 14-3. Black, red, white, 4-0. Those are the base templates. Let's roll. Okay, this is what you talk about when you're 1-2 and just hoping against hope. All right, so don't blame us. We are guilty. We're searching for a solution. Could it be in the threads? Could it be in Grant McCaslin's tips? We don't know, but maybe they combine together to get you a win to open up.
It has nothing to do with the uniform either. I'm just saying. I mean, it's just like you
don't know that, Chris.
Yeah, you're either good enough to win or you're not. I mean, I just it cracks me up. It's like, okay, hey man, I got to wear my favorite underwear today to make sure that, or my lucky socks. Come on, man.
Things become things, Chris. I know. It's just sports. It's just sports.
I know. That's the beauty of it.
And with the losses that have piled up early this season, we've been able to all wear fresh underwear every week, though. That's a little silver lining in West Texas. We're all changing our jockeys out here in the 806. But I dare you to go on a winning streak. We won't be faking the funk, and that is not a pun. Okay, coming up ahead, let's talk about a legendary Red Raider. Lend in a hand for Gino Garcia and company next on Locked On Texas Tech. First, today's episode brought to you by FanDuel, America's #1 sports book and the official sports book of Locked On. And the NFL season is on and popping, and the only place to be in the center of all the action is with America's #1 sports book. And right now, new FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets back, guaranteed. But there's more. All customers, new or old, who bet $5 are going to get $100 off NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Translation: right now is the best time to join FanDuel by downloading their safe, secure, and easy-to-use app where you can bet on anything and everything. And when you're a winner, you're always paid instantly with FanDuel. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon and take advantage of their NFL kickoff offer that you can't afford to miss. From FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. For the ride on Locked On Texas Tech on the Locked On Podcast Network. Thanks for making us your first listen every day on YouTube or anywhere you get podcasts. With Chris Level, I'm Casey Cowan, back for one more again as we wrap it up with the Red Raider thought from Texas Tech head coach Joey McGuire. Chris, at this point in the season, I do kind of feel like Gino Garcia has put some voodoo behind him. He's made some good kicks for Texas Tech. He's been in all situations. Like, I don't know what he hasn't seen yet. Hurry up, clock is expiring. Hey, here's 56, here's 54. He's done just about everything through 3 weeks in the season.
Kicked in altitude,
that's exactly right, and then came back down to 3,200, did it again. I really don't feel like there's been anything so far. Now that I say that out loud, we'll see something crazy, but he's seen a lot of different things through 3 weeks. As a young guy, still relatively green behind the ears, trying to find his footing, and I was really intrigued to hear Joey McGuire reference a source of inspiration or solution I didn't quite expect in a Red Raider legend. Here is Texas Tech head coach Joey McGuire.
Gino, if you look, the kicks that, we have good timing, and one of the best Red Raiders of all time, Lynn Elliott, sent me a great text to share with Gino about, going through and really looking at the kicks that he's missed. Is he rushing it? What's the op time? What's his approach? And really concentrating on that. And so, lucky to have a guy like that that's a great Red Raider that can pick that stuff up and, help. And I met him. He came out here, and his wife and his son and daughter have come out here and watched practice. And, just a really good guy. And I was fired up because whenever I talked to Gino, it made perfect sense. He literally went back and sat down and rewatched everything and, came back to me at the end of practice and goes, Coach, he's 100% right. I'm rushing here. My steps were off here, and so it was good to see.
Legendary Red Raider, Dallas Cowboys Super Bowl champion, Tech Hall of Famer. I think he left as Tech's scoring leader. I'm not sure if that still stands, but all Red Raiders, I would think, at least of a certain age, recognize the name Lynn Elliott.
Man, yeah, we're most of us are all gonna love you, man. If you leave here and then go to the Cowboys and win a Super Bowl,
that's right.
That's like you've hit the trifecta there. It when guys like this that have done it, and obviously it was like from 92 to 97-ish, 98 when Lynn Elliott was playing. I want to say, if memory serves, Cowboys, Chiefs, and then maybe finished up with the team in the NFC
Vikings.
Okay, yeah. So Vikings. But kickers are funny, man. It's a fraternity. It's I think real recognize real kind of thing. And so they listen to their own. It's a bit different. I think it's kind of like throwing motions. A lot of times, like when you get it to college and stuff, you don't go mess with a kid. Like you're not teaching him technique and all these things. You're doing some different things. Either you recruit this player and you can either kick it or you can't. It's just like, quarterback. I mean, we're taking you as is. We're not going to come up here and that's the way it is most of the time. But I think that's why they all have kicking coaches and all that. I mean, it's nice that Lynn Elliott and then that's where Joey's relationships pay off. Because I think Lynn Elliott's known Joey for a long time, and obviously there's a bit of a dialogue there. So hopefully that helps. But when you can show somebody a big old Super Bowl ring and a Tech, you're a Tech alum and all those things, and you did it at the highest level. Yeah, I would say Gino Garcia would be like, because he's 5 of 9. He's been good, close. I think, the 40 to 49 yard range, he's 2 of 4. He's 0 for on the 50 plus. But I for some reason, I guess I just don't have many nerves about this yet, just because of some of the reasoning for it. The rush kick at the end of the first half in Wyoming, the how far, a couple of the misses have been. I mean, 54 or 56 yards. I just can't fault somebody for missing those. In the NFL, sure, I think you get frustrated, but not in college. And so, and then the trajectory on the one where he just kind of kicked it into the back of his own player up in Wyoming too, probably rushing it, So I would hope that is a little more steady, as the season goes along, because these are the games, man. Like these games on the road, this is where I don't need you to be superhuman. Just give me, make the makeables. How about that? Like 40 in, I need it automatic. I've got to have 3 in my back pocket. And if you do that, I have no qualms about, and if you miss a 46-yarder to win the game or something, yeah, we'll all be frustrated. But I think that you want to just make sure that you've got the ones that, you can make.
Yeah, Joey McGuire talked about some of those things, being frustrated with some situations, not frustrated with misses in other situations. And you kind of answered my question. I was going to wrap it up by asking you about just in general, are you at ease with this situation? Because I'm maybe about 50-50, 60-40, and I don't want to be too pessimistic, but I know with what you just finished with right there, Chris, it is going to be a part of this Big 12 run. Mm-hmm. And you had the season you had last year because of the foot of Trey Wolff in large part. I know there are a lot of things that combine to do it, but he got you over the hump in so many situations. So I'm still maybe about 60-40, peaceful to unrest. But it sounds like you've got some confidence, and it sounds like his head coach has some confidence in Gino Garcia.
Yeah, we're ultimately not going to know the answer to this, and I'd be lying if I told you I wouldn't be nervous if he lined up for a game winner, if it was 17 yards away or 55 yards away. But there's going to come a time where there's going to be like a pressure kick, one to win a game, one to Now, granted, he made a few extra points in overtime. I think in the first one, which I was a little nervous about after he had missed some field goals and things like that. He did he missed one with 5 minutes to go, but then he made one to tie it, in Wyoming, and so that was a pressure kick. But there's going to be more pressure kicks, and that's really where you find out. That's where Trey, I thought, was just so good. It wasn't dramatic. He just kind of stepped up and made it, and it was, hey, it's kind of what I'm here to do, folks. So we'll see if Gino can do that. Yeah,
and at the same time with Trey, I guess really, I don't know, kind of prior maybe to the Houston game, which was a non-conference game last year, but early in the season last year, it was also, I don't know, what are we going to get? Because it's not like Trey Wolff just had some smooth path to being a legend. He had to create his own legend in his final season. So we'll see if Gino can get in a big spot and then give us some of that confidence by being successful.
Trey has one of the weirdest careers, I think, especially in the portal era.
And he became someone that certainly showed that, sticking with something could pay off. It obviously paid off for him in his final year. So looking forward to seeing some big opportunities, I'm sure, whether this weekend or beyond. They're coming in Big 12 play for Gino Garcia. All right, Chris, we got one more round before we ship you off to Morgantown. The unintentional rhyme master always with us on a little Friday. Happy little Friday to all who celebrate. Hope it's a good one for you, Chris. Enjoyed the time as always, my man. And we'll do it one more time coming up tomorrow.
Got the Joey McGuire radio show tonight, so we'll recap that tomorrow. We've got Juice and Jerron Bradley joining me this evening. So, yeah, it should be fun.
Coach them up a little bit, Chris, with some words of inspiration. I'm sure you got some. And we'll see you tomorrow for the next round. Hope to see you out there as well. Make sure you're subscribed on YouTube or anywhere you get podcasts so you never miss an episode. For Chris, I'm Casey. We'll see you for the next one on Locked On Texas Tech.